welcome everyone to another video from the AM Academy. Today we're going to have a closer look at the Ultimaker S3, or more specifically, at the Printcores we use in them. Now, a little bit of backstory to how we actually got to this video and why we're doing it at all. So a couple of days ago, we got a spool of material from our friends 3D down in Italy. And the spool of material they sent is a fiber reinforced material in 2.85 millimeters. Now we were thinking, okay, let's test this on the Ultimaker we have, since, you know, the filament diameter is just right. The problem is that our Ultimaker actually is only using AA Printcores with a nozzle diameter of 0.4 millimeters. Now, as many of you may know, if you're using fiber reinforced filament, the risk of clogging already goes up, especially when using a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. But the second problem you will have is wear and tear on the nozzle itself. It'll actually wear out really quickly when you're using a standard brass nozzle. So the AA Printcore from Ultimaker would wear out in about 500 grams of printing this material. Since this is a 2 kilogram spool, we'd basically need 4 full Printcores to just test this spool of material. So that was more or less unacceptable, and so we went on the look and on the hunt and tried to find a different option. Now, Ultimaker sells so-called CC Printcores that are specifically designed for printing fiber reinforced materials and that have a 0.6 millimeter diameter. This would be optimal were not for the price. Now, these CC Printcores, they cost upwards of 300 euros. And the problem with Ultimaker overall is that the nozzles on their Printcores are not exchangeable. So using an AA Printcore, then exchanging the nozzle after it is worn, is not even an option. But the 300 euros was a bit too steep for us, so we started looking for other options as well. And what we found were that our distributor that we're already working with, actually, 3DSolex, actually supplies these as well. Now, the interesting thing about this is that 3DSolex sells these little packages including additional nozzles for the AA and BB Printcores, as well as these ruby nozzles, the CC Printcores, that are really good for printing fiber. So that's why we then went and not only ordered the CC Printcore that we originally wanted, but we ordered their set of AA nozzles, their set of AA Printcore as well, just so we could have a look at them. And over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to quickly go through advantages, disadvantages of each of these, and then at the end actually show how easy it is to exchange these. So the options we have coming from 3DSolex is you can get the AA Printcore with a standard core heating technology nozzle, and there are 4 different sizes. Now, the reason the 0.6 millimeter is grayed out is because that one is not supported by Ultimaker by default. So the key here, the trick is that each of these 3DSolex Printcores would actually be a plug and play. The chip on the back will automatically tell the Ultimaker printer what kind of a Printcore it is, and the printer will then be able to use the default settings in Cura. Now, the problem is Ultimaker also sells a 0.25 millimeter, a 0.4 millimeter, and a 0.8 millimeter nozzle. Ultimaker does not sell a 0.6 millimeter nozzle. So in that case, you would then have to go in manually and still change some of these settings. For all the other ones, the chip on the back of the Printcore will actually do all the work for you. Alternatively, you can also buy a BB Printcore with a standard core heating technology nozzle diameter of 0.4 millimeters, or a CC nozzle, which is the one that we really wanted here, with a nozzle diameter of 0.6 millimeters. If you want, you can also order additional nozzles from them in the diameters shown below. So 0.1 millimeter, before I did this, I had no idea they even had nozzles that small. 0.15 millimeter or a full 1 millimeter. These, of course, are on top of the ones that I've already listed up here. And then you also have different diameters for the ruby nozzles. So if you really wanted to print a huge part very, very quickly, you might want to have a look at the 0.8 ruby nozzle, or even the 1.2 ruby nozzle. That is serious hardware then, though. So those are the options, and the idea, as I've mentioned, of the 3DSolex Printcores is specifically to replace the Ultimaker's Printcores one-to-one with this plug-and-play experience where you just take out the Ultimaker one, you put in this 3DSolex one, and it just works. And as I've mentioned, they do the AA, BB, and CC, but the trick is that unlike for the Ultimaker Printcores, the 3DSolex Printcores have exchangeable nozzles. So if I'm printing a part and it fails for whatever reason, and my diagnostics point towards the Printcore being the problem, and then I figure out it's only the nozzle that is causing the problem because it's worn out, because it's damaged, because, I don't know, I've screwed it in the wrong way, then I can actually go and just exchange that single nozzle. I don't have to throw the Printcore out. With the Ultimaker, that's exactly what I would have to do, which is why we didn't want to use our existing AA Printcore, since we would just wear that one out really quickly. So even now, and I believe it is this packaging right here, I'm hoping this will be somewhat visible on the camera, next to the Printcore there are 2 additional nozzles up top. And I could just unscrew the one that is already in it using the tool that 3DSolex supplied as well. You would just take a Printcore and you slot it in like this. Like this. And then the metal bracket at the top will actually hold the entire Printcore steady, allowing you to easily unscrew the old nozzle and screw in a new one. And then you just take it back out of this bracket and you can put it into the printer. So that's already quite nice, and I really liked the idea they had there with this little bracket that they also gave us. So after wearing out or damaging the nozzle, I don't have to throw out the entire Printcore, and this is key to the cost comparison that we're going to do in a second. Because, as I've already talked about, advantages of the 3DSolex Printcores so far, they actually replace the Ultimaker products one-to-one, plug and play, don't have to worry about anything else. The core heating technology, which is basically that the nozzle is bored open a tiny bit more, enables a significantly higher heating capacity than the traditional ones. The nozzles can easily be replaced, as I had just explained. You have a large selection of nozzles, we've already gone over that as well, and these are made in Norway using the highest quality components and assembly, so I'm actually quite confident in their quality. I really like the look and feel. I also like these little packages they come in. It all feels like you're getting additional value, which is always nice. These Printcores actually are even lighter than the original Ultimaker ones, theoretically allowing for even higher print speeds. I haven't tried this yet, but it's going to be one of the things I'll be looking at next. The temperature distribution within the Printcore is more even, and if I do decide to replace the nozzles, the total cost for the AA and BB Printcores is actually cheaper than the Ultimaker one. For the CC Printcore, it's not even a comparison. This 3DSolex one is just significantly cheaper. Now, let's look at this cost comparison thing that I mentioned. So you can get the Ultimaker Printcore AA for €118.50 in Germany with the German sales tax. It might differ a little bit in your country, but the general ballpark is the idea here. And this 3DSolex Printcore costs $165. Now, at first glance, this might look like more, but remember, we're getting 3 nozzles, so I can exchange it twice. If my Printcore actually stops working due to a problem that is exclusively due to the nozzle, say, damaged it, or it is worn out because I used the wrong material, then I still have 2 other nozzles that I can screw in, meaning that I basically got the equivalent of 3 Ultimaker Printcores in one, which again makes the cost reasonable. That is up to you though, whether that cost calculation is something you're comfortable with or whether you would like to stick with the Ultimaker one. But this basically is a formula to briefly calculate what error quota would have to be due to the nozzle. And basically it's just the fault quota, the price from the 3DSolex Printcore and the Ultimaker Printcore, and basically as soon as 46.5 or more % of our failed prints are due to a nozzle problem, the 3DSolex one is worth it. And especially when printing fiber-filled materials, you're likely going to have a higher percentage than this just being due to nozzles being worn and damaged. So to me, it seems reasonable. This is entirely up to you, though, whether you are comfortable with this. Now, if we move on and actually look at the CC Printcore, it just becomes overwhelmingly clear which one is the better option, because the Ultimaker CC nozzle actually costs €351, at least here in Germany. Now, the 3DSolex one, same, €164.99. In this case though, because the Ruby nozzles are significantly more expensive, the 3DSolex one also only comes with 1 nozzles, no replacements for the CC Printcore. Keep that in mind, but even so, I mean, it's less than, no, it's exactly half the cost, pretty much. So no, it's less than half. Come on, son. It's early in the morning. My math isn't up to speed yet. But that's really, really cool. And I think that this is actually a great value proposition and shouldn't be too much to think about. So before we're done with this video, I'm going to briefly demonstrate how to actually get one of these Printcores into the Ultimaker printer, just to show how easy it really is. So if we take our Ultimaker right here, and I'm going to make the camera zoom in a bit so it can focus a little better on the printer. Yeah. So our Printcore is all the way in the back corner, and now I'm going to just press this button right here, and you can see normally the 2 Printcores that are listed. So there's an AA Printcore in the left and a BB Printcore in the right. And I'm going to replace the BB 0.4mm Printcore on the right hand side. So I'm going to tap that, and then there's a button labeled change at the very bottom. I'm going to click that. And the Ultimaker will now prepare, bringing the printhead to the center of the build platform. And if there was any material still loaded in the printhead, it would unload this first, allowing us to then take out the Printcore. So now it has unloaded a tiny bit of material, or thinks it did anyway, because this one was already empty, and it's asking me to open the fan bracket. So that's what I'm going to do. And now I'm going to press confirm. And then it actually just wants me to remove the Printcore, which means that I take the Printcore, I squish together this little push tab, and then I take out the Ultimaker Printcore until I have it in my hand, put it aside, take the ruby tipped 0.6mm nozzle that I want to put in, and once again I squish it with the little push tab, and I insert it exactly where I just took out the other one, let go. And Ultimaker already recognizes it and just asks me to close the fan bracket. Now that I've done so, I press confirm. And voila, we're done. Now, that's basically it. And after it has now reloaded, or thinks it reloaded, some of the filament, it is going to list, it is now a CC 0.6mm Printcore on the screen. So the Ultimaker printer has already realized and recognized what kind of nozzle I've given it and is ready to print with it. This also means I can use the standard Cura settings for this type of printhead, and everything is going to print just fine. Now there are 2 minor gripes that I have with these 3DSolex Printcores, which for completeness' sake I want to mention here. Now if we take a closer look at the Printcores for both the Ultimaker and the 3DSolex one, we're going to be able to see that on the Ultimaker the top part is clear plastic. On the 3DSolex one it is just flat black. Now the clear plastic is generally used to allow a light signal from the printhead to be visible at the front. For example, if the Printcore is cool, it'll show a blue light. If the Printcore is heating or cooling down, it'll show a flashing red light, and if it is already hot, it will show a steady red light. This will not be visible when using the 3DSolex Printcores. I don't know why they went with flat black, and it's something I hope they change in the future, because it's just an unnecessary loss of information. The second minor thing is that on the front, now I know this one right here is my AA Printcore with 0.4mm, but it doesn't say so on the front of the Printcore. Now the Ultimaker one does have a label describing what kind of Printcore I've got in my hand. The 3DSolex one does not. This should also be fairly easy to fix. Now I'm going to make myself my own little sticker and put it on the front here. And that way I will always know what kind of a Printcore it is. These are the only 2 minor things I still wanted to mention for completeness' sake. I'm trying to be mostly fair here. But yeah, that's already all I have for you. And on the next video, we're likely going to see whether we can print something with it and how the result actually comes out with these 3DSolex Printcores. That's it from me. Thank you very much for watching. If you do have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And I'm going to see you in the next video.